So we're going to get started here. I have to tell you a story first. So I have 3 children, and I have 2 boys that are 14 and 15, and it was late start today, so I got a chance to drive them to school. And my 14-year-old says, he wanted to know what I was doing today, and I said, I get to speak at GEW. And he said, have you memorized your speech? And I said, no, I don't memorize my speech. And so he has given me, I really have to hold it close. Okay, really, okay, eating the microphone. Okay, so my 14-year-old, this is his introduction. Hi, my name is Joy Broyles. I am the founder and CEO of Hustle and Ground. Okay. Yeah, he is going to be so proud that I used his introduction. Okay, so now let's get on with this. Okay, so today we're going to talk about building capability statements. I have been in business we're starting our 3rd year. I had no idea what a CAPE statement was. I remember I was at a conference and my roommate said, did you bring your CAPE statement? And I said, I don't know what that is. And she said, okay, well, you need to hand it out to the companies. And I thought, I don't have time to do a CAPE statement. I don't even know what this is. And so I wanted to present at GEW for anybody and everybody who doesn't know what a capability statement is. So this is our agenda. This is what we're going to do today. And I really want this to be interactive. So please don't let me stand up here and just talk to you the whole time. I really want questions. I really want, I want to have everybody, be able to ask questions and really get some information out of this. There are handouts on your table. Good grief. Okay, it will help you to kind of create your capability statement. All right, I have to use this because I am starting to lose my voice, not from sickness, but from talking since 11 a.m. So I will work on this microphone. Okay, so this is
moving your hand higher.
Yeah, moving my hand higher.
You might be blocking,
I think it's gonna, I think you might be touching. You're touching the button.
Oh, don't touch the
Keep your
okay.
hand lower.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, is this better?
Let's see. The button may be off now.
Button's on.
Okay.
I know, right?
just try squeaking
okay.
into an opposite. See that works differently?
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Oh.
All right.
There you go.
Okay, definitely give me grace. My friend is in here and she says grace and space are good. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so this is the definition, the dictionary definition of a capability statement. The real world use is really, it's a resume for your business. So you all have resumes for your personal life or your personal life as you go out and get a job. But this is a resume for your business. It is something that you need to update all the time. And it really helps you to figure out what your strengths are. It helps you to be able to articulate that to possible clients, possible people that you want to work with, and that's what we're going to do. Okay, here are the key components. So this is an example of my capability statement. I have probably 4 or 5 versions. It depends on who I'm working with. I have a version that is for utility companies because I have utility experience. They speak very differently than the construction industry and the professional services industry. These are the different components. So we talk about us. What is your mission? What is your story? That's very important for any clients or anyone that you're looking at bringing into your company. You need to be able to articulate your story and your mission and why you have this business. These are your core competencies. So think about what you do really well. Not the things that you can do if you hire somebody who speaks French. You know, think about the things that you have without hiring somebody else. I know, right? Thanks. The core competencies are really something that is big for companies. They want to know that you can do what they are looking for, and that you have done it before. Not that you have brought somebody in that might have some experience in it. That you really understand the competencies, and that you really do have this down. Okay, Jennifer. Okay, what are your differentiators? So, what makes you different? Really think about that. What makes you different than your competitors? Who in here has a service-based business? Okay. Who's product-based? Okay, that's good. That's good. So think about your competitors. Think about, we all know our competitors. What do you do differently than they do? Not to like pick them apart and say we do this better, but what makes you different? If you were outside looking in at your business, why would you choose your business versus the competitor? So those are the things that we need to think about. We know what our differentiators are, and so we have those listed there. Think about the certifications that you have. So depending on what industry you're in, okay, depending on what industry you are in, what are your NAICS codes? Does everyone know their NAICS codes? Yes. So, okay, that's okay. My NAICS codes are really hard because I specialize in corporate gifting. Probably should have started with that. Okay, don't tell my son. So we do corporate gifting. There is not a NAICS code that really fits corporate gifting.
How do you spell that?
Oh, and yeah.
Okay, I see my reading glasses.
You're okay. You're okay. There's a way to NAICS. You can go look up your code, and you can have your primary, and then there's a couple of secondary that you can have. But really try to figure out what your NAICS codes are, and then you want to put your contact information. That's okay. So this, like I said, this is one of our versions of our CAPE statement. We have a different version for utilities. We have a different version for, maybe I need to stand here. Okay, we have a different version for utilities. We have a different version for professional services. We highlight different things for different industries. Okay, so as you see, this is organizing your CAPE statement. So the reason we organize it this way, these are our brand colors. Okay, these are our brand colors, and we have it so that there are literally bullet points, because you need to be able to read it within 30 seconds. You're really scanning it when you hand it to a company, when you hand it to somebody who you're looking to work with. You really want to have them be able to just scan it and know this is somebody that a client or a business that they want to work with, or this is a business that they want to, that the company might want to take you on. So does that make sense? To be able to have it be clean and concise?
Like a resume.
Like a resume, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because sometimes I've seen resumes and they have sentences, and it takes you a lot longer than 30 seconds to read it and really digest it. You want to do short bullets with the keywords that are important in your industry. Everything is in sections. So these are the sections that we just talked through. We have everything divided into sections so that it's easy to see. Some people who are reading it might not care about your story. They might not care about us, or they might not care about.
I just want to put an emphasis on what you just said.
Oh,
'Cause
yes.
I resisted it myself. I had some friends be like, Kaylee, you're the business. Your face has to be on there. So I just want to emphasize that.
It's hard, right? I mean, because I was at a conference, and I was talking to somebody, and I said, I'm looking at hiring somebody for operations, and he goes, you're the salesperson. Got it, I'm the salesperson. Okay, good. So it's the people that are buying your services. If they're buying it for you, and you're the one who they're interacting with, they want to know. They want to be able to put your face with your company. Yes.
So I mean, how does that work though? At a certain level of scalability, like it stops being the Larissa show and starts becoming about the team, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's something that we've struggled with, as we've made that transition back and forth, right? Of saying you're not hiring me, right?
Yeah.
You're hiring the company, because we have core competencies collectively, right? It's not like, oh, I found a freelancer on Fiverr who speaks French, so now I'm doing this in French. It's like, no, this is a core member of our team.
Yeah.
This is a capability they bring. And so humanizing that brand without making it seem like, oh, I'm just gonna text Larissa, you know, like whatever, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of that's in common policies, and we've solved for a lot of that kind of stuff. But I think I was thinking about this, like, you know, Garmin doesn't have the CEO's face on their
Yeah.
capability statement, right? They may
Yeah.
not even have one of these, but like how, so I guess what's kind of the theory on that?
So if you're product-based, you need to put your product-based pictures on there. But for you, for having a different team, do each of your individual team members have a capability statement? Because then, when they're talking to their possible client, they can hand their capability statement to them, and it's got what they're good in, what their core competencies are, their face.
Within the organizational
Mhm.
structure, so
Yep.
kind of through the lens of project management, through the lens of account management, through the
Yes.
lens of CEO and strategy or whatever.
Yes, especially if that client is going to be interacting with that team member, that's when you have multiple versions of your CAPE statement. Yeah, yes.
And what if you do both?
So sometimes I do both. I still have my products on there because I'm not split 50-50 on product and service. I'm more probably 75-25, and so I still have my products. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but if you want to do a different version of a CAPE statement where it's your face on the CAPE statement, if it's a client that you're going to do more service with than product, I would make a different version. Yeah.
To that effect, I think we'll probably talk about it maybe later, but I have like two arms of my business where I'm doing like speaking and corporate training on marketing and where I'm actually doing the implementation side. Do you suggest having like just two separate completely CAPE statements? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I would, because especially if you are, okay, so tell me a little bit more about the side where you're dealing with the companies, Max.
So I would be either working with the entrepreneur support organizations, developing like marketing programming, but I've also come into small teams of marketing where I've worked with them and upskilled them and like done continuing education with marketing on those teams. So it's worked with folks in that way, but I'm not doing it. Like they have people that are already dedicated to doing it.
Okay. Are you helping the person that's already dedicated to it?
Yes, like in
Okay.
the cases that I've seen, it's either like it's like a small team, it's like a committee where no one owns the role, so they're all doing a little bit of it.
Okay.
So
So if they have your CAPE statement and they're in a team meeting and they're saying, okay, do we hire Max? They can have your CAPE statement and then they can be like, that's Max, and
right.
and this is what Max does, and yeah, because you can have your different versions. You can have you can have good grief. Okay, the green. I was gonna say the green light's on. I'm just gonna stand here. Okay, so. Okay, good. So you can have your version of your CAPE statement that kind of becomes generic for those situations,
Right.
but then you can. I mean, I've redone my CAPE statement so many times, just because it needs to be a living document, because things change. We've been in a huge growth year this year. Things have changed a lot, and so I just keep updating it. And I would carry, if you were able, just like print a couple of copies. I know everybody is very much electronic. You can send it and everything, but sometimes there are times when you need a paper. Yeah, you just met this person and you say, oh, I have my CAPE statement, here it is. But for the times that they'll take electronic and you don't lose that connection. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then there's some people who don't want it at all because they have like this whole stack of CAPE statements. So just kind of gauge that a little bit. Yes?
When it is team-based and in part of telling your story, and let's say there would be that need to introduce them to other people in the team, would it be appropriate to put a URL in there that points to your website that's like, meet and team?
Yeah, that would be great. And if you're sending it electronic, you can make it a link so that they can just go in and link right to your website. Yep. Yep. Especially if they are team members that are going to stay with you. You know, if you don't have a team member that you think will still be there, you don't want to necessarily introduce that and then they say, what happened to Meg? You know, but if they're completely with you, yes, yeah. That's a really good way to, so that, and then you would have, I'm assuming, like a bio on each person on that. Yep. Yep, I think that would be great. Yes, you had a question.
So like in my industry, part of our packages is when we say, hey, this is the services we're gonna provide, and this is, you know, who will be helping you on the team or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that, like, the standard in our industry is to provide basically a resume? Do you think this is something that could replace that? Or is there something that would be on the resume that maybe wouldn't be on the case?
Can I ask what industry you're in? Is it?
Cyber security.
Okay. I think you could make it replace the resume. If you, would it be just you that would have the capability? So it would be your capability statement and everything
Anybody
that.
that's gonna work on their project, so
Yeah.
I need an architect or something, I don't know.
Yeah. I think it would be a good idea because everybody brings their own experience, right?
Yeah.
So like if you have a whole bunch of experience in this part of cyber, you know, you can talk about that on the CAPE statement where you can still keep it, one page is about as much as you can do. And so if each person has a CAPE statement and they can say, okay, this is my experience. I used to be an attorney, and so my resume I worked on this deal, and so I would take, if I was still an attorney, I would take that and put it into my CAPE statement and say I worked on this, you know, this deal for this. You could definitely do that, and that way each person would have their own CAPE statement, and I think that would be a really good idea. Yeah. Let's see here. You want to do consistency formatting. You want to make sure that everything looks the same. So like I said, we have our brand colors. We have all of the headings are the same. All of the margins and everything are the same. And then what I usually go in when I make a different version, I'll change my key client list because some of my clients don't care if I'm working with these people. They want to see people in their industry. Utility industry is very much, have you had utility experience? That's big for them. And so I'll change out some of the key clients and I'll put my utility experience in there. So definitely keep it fluid, keep it something that you can really update as you go. Okay. So this is a little bit of how to clean it up and keep it consistent a little bit. So think about what do you think the person that you're going to send it to wants to know about you? What are they interested in? What is going to make the biggest bang for them? They may not care about something that another client would care about. So really kind of sketch it out, outline it, figure out what's important for that client, and make sure it's short too. As long as you're getting your point across in as few words as you can, make sure that it's short, and the outdated data is one of the reasons that I update all the time, because we work with over 100 small businesses all over the country, and I keep changing that number. Because otherwise it's, we work with 40 small businesses. We've been growing a lot. And so I have to make sure when I read it, I'm sending out the one that is the most updated. That part is really important. Okay, so here's why a capability statement is important. Okay, so say I have a friend who is a mortgage broker, and she said, she doesn't necessarily, she'll have people coming in and wanting a loan. So she doesn't necessarily needs something to, to be able to say, this is what we do, but she would use it for anybody that she wants to hire. This is why you should come and work with our mortgage broker. This is what we bring. And so she's looking at it from a different way than I would look at it. But it's something that she can use. She can say, this is how many mortgages we close. This is the volume that we do. And so anybody that she's looking to hire knows what the brokerage is that they're getting ready to join. It does give you credibility. When I have my key client list, there's something to be said about some of the bigger companies on there, and so they know that I'm not that I've been doing this a little while, and I've been building relationships and working with these clients. All right. Okay. Any questions? Thank you for not letting me use the mic. All right. I'm open to any questions. Has anybody done a capability statement? Okay. How is it? Has it helped?
I think it's helped me, yeah.
Okay.
Mostly it's been when I'm submitting for like speaking engagement,
Yep.
things like that.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask the difference between like a speaking one pager and a speaking
Yeah.
statement.
Well, and I've sometimes been asked for a statement from brands. They just want to know more about me, and it's been when I've sent them or I've agreed to a brand deal, or they want to see some of my numbers of what all I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it can be better.
I think it's something that you can use in so many different ways. And if somebody, especially if somebody ever asks you, like, what experience have you had? What do you speak about? I think that's very easy to hand them something or send them something and say, this is what I do. Yeah. Yes.
Just a comment, I can see, for someone like me, it's hard for me to think of things on the spot. Like,
Yeah.
I know I can add value,
Yeah.
but if you ask me a question, I feel like very much deer in the headlights and I can't answer your question. So this gives me the opportunity to think through all of
Yeah.
those things and have
Yep.
a very concise way of being able to show my value without being put on the spot.
Yeah. That's a really good point. It does, because it's you can think through everything, and it's just like, what do I want to say,
Yeah.
And it also helps you stay focused. I don't know if any of you have had somebody say, well, do you do this? Fill in the blank. And then do you say, do I do this? Do I want to do this? How do you stay focused on what your company truly does? What are your core competencies? Somebody asked me if I was an event planner. That is not my core competency. I don't want to do that. And so it was very easy to look at my CAPE statement and say, no, I'm not. But I know a lot of event planners, and I can definitely introduce you to them, but I don't want to be one, because that gets me off of where I'm supposed to be.
It's so true. I think about the marketing space too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, there's so many things we Cinder and I have talked about this so many times. There's so many things we could do that we can do, but is that in our core competency? I think is
Yeah.
a way to think about that and like refine that. Yeah.
Yep. It really helps you to focus when you look at that space and really sit down and think about it and sketch it out and
Yep.
throw possible options of, do I want to expand my core competencies to this? No, or yes, whatever the answer is that you come to, that, it helps you to focus on that. Because I don't know about all of you, but entrepreneurs wear so many different hats, right? Do you want to take on a different hat? Yes.
First, I want to compliment your jacket. I love it.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, a lot of people want it. So I believe in focus, right? I think this is a great exercise for that. But I'm also struggling with, I don't want to limit people what they can do. So whether I'm coaching teams or people, I have that responder personality type where really, to best know, I need to either observe or have a conversation with you. And so I'm kind of wondering if you have any advice on that, where it's like, okay, you want to give some options, but you also don't want to be limiting yourself and kind of setting that expectation where it's like, really by getting to know you, that's when we really discover how
Yeah.
we can help each other. So I just wonder what thoughts you have on that.
So I'm a big relationship person, so I do like to talk and figure out what people are looking for, like get to the bottom of it. I think that's okay. I think that's okay to, are you talking like from a coaching standpoint? So what are your core competencies?
So for example, what I do can help you with wellness, like physical
Mhm.
wellness, or it could
Yeah.
be more mental, emotional, or it could be helping your team be super productive and empowered. So, these are different things.
Yeah. And you don't know
know
which way to go probably until you get really to talking to people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
I think you should list the different, because you have, it sounds like 3 possibilities that you could go to with core competencies. I think it's okay to list those. And at the first part of it say, I'll be able to figure out what it is, what fits you better, because you're customizing your service then.
Mm-hmm.
You can put that in your differentiator, that you
Yeah.
customize the coaching based on,
Okay.
you know what
Yep.
I mean? So like it'll tie in, and so it'll kind of explain why the one section is a little more maybe
Yeah.
variable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you, Beth.
I like that. Yeah, because so for me, we customize gift boxes. We have different corporate clients, and they really get to choose what goes in the boxes, and they think that's awesome because it becomes their box without me saying, I think you need this box. So customization is very important. Yeah. Yeah, and that you're right, Max. I think that probably is one of your differentiators. When you look at your competitors, see if other competitors are doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody was saying that a differentiator is not that we have customer service. So really think about what your customer, what is your differentiator? It's great that you have customer service and you need to, but that's probably not a differentiator. It's a lot more about really looking at your competitors. I know who my competitors are, but I don't focus on them. I don't like to focus on them because I'm doing my thing. And so we take those differentiators and we really lean into those. Any other questions? Yes.
You mentioned treatment like a living document.
Yeah.
So in your particular circumstance, how often do you find yourself updating it or creating another version?
Often, because this has been a growth year. We've gone to so many different conferences, and so I will meet a client that I don't really have a CAPE statement that's going to fit them exactly. So I'll kind of customize it a little bit. I have a CAPE statement for the utility industry because they don't gift. We call it something else. Because it's a public, they're public. We do not gift. That's a bad word. And so, but then I have realtors. Okay, so realtors we talk about completely different because they do pop buys or they do different client things. So I have a capability statement that speaks more to realtors. I would say if you write down the segments where your clients come from, I think it would be a really good thing if you could start to make different versions of your CAPE statement, and that way you'll have it when that time comes when you meet somebody in that segment, and you can say, hey, I have a CAPE statement, and I'll send it to you. How else are we doing? Are you guys feeling confident about writing a CAPE statement? Yes, Max.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. We need to do this. We need to do this. Yeah.
One of the things that you said that you should include
Mm-hmm.
is testimonials.
Mm-hmm.
Where would you place that on that one sheet? Because it's not like a lot of space.
I know, right? Let me go back.
Yeah, so I was just kind of wondering what were you thinking from a structure standpoint?
So we actually help people with setting up CAPE statements and everything.
Sure.
So what I think what I will do when I redo this again is I'm going to take out some of the So under the differentiators, the option 1, 2, and 3, those don't necessarily work for everybody. So I will take that part out, and then I'll put a testimonial and probably add another heading bar so that I can split up the testimonials. That's a good point though. So I went through a cohort for RFPs, and they were like, "You got to get your testimonials." They had this whole thing, be RFP ready. I've never done that, and so I'm sitting here going, "I need a testimonial. I need a testimonial." I'm asking everybody, and so now I have awesome testimonials, which is great. But you don't think about that. At least I didn't think about that. I make sure everybody's happy, and then I don't say, "Hey, I need a testimonial." I know they're happy, but that whole RFP cohort really made me lean into that. So that's what I would do if I was changing this one. I would take out the bottom half of that differentiators, and I would put a testimonial in there.
Ooh. Especially if it speaks to what makes their experience unique, right? Like
Yes.
let them speak for you, right?
Yes.
Instead of you saying this
They
is
can-
different.
They can make up way better things than I would say about myself. I'm super humble, and somebody I just spoke somewhere else, and one of my clients, she's like, "Joy's not going to tell you this, but she blah blah blah," and I was like, "I need to take you with me more often, because then she can talk about what I do." But it's in their words, it's in your client's words.
But the NAICS code thing too, like
Yeah.
I imagine that comes into play more if you're gonna be handing this or even if you flip the format, right, make it more presentation, attach it in an RFP.
Yeah.
But that really comes into more play when people are trying to figure out if you fit within the government contracting
Yes.
space that they're trying to fill.
Yes.
So like they have to adhere to that, and so like I'm saying this mainly because Jen White struggled with her NAICS code, and I kind of told her that it didn't matter in the immediate because I'm not gonna
Yeah.
ask you, like I don't care, right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Like your tax document cares, and like
Yeah.
government, if you're trying to get placed on a whatever, right, then you have to meet certain requirements. So I think don't get hung up on it.
Well,
Yeah,
you know,
don't-
For the reason I was struggling with it was,
What were you doing?
the name of the company I was trying to get exclusive rights to that. My brain is not going.
Oh.
Trademark. You have to
Yeah.
have your trademark. You have to have it for
Yeah.
your trademark. And if you don't have it, and someone else has that
Yeah.
name code,
Oh.
they
Yeah.
can take that from under you. So
Yeah.
that was stressful.
It's hard, especially if you aren't there are so many NAICS codes for janitorial and food service. I mean, gifting is really, I definitely had help from the WBDC, because I was like, you need to tell me what are my NAICS codes, because there's no gifting, there's no anything. So we came up with some things that worked. It's not gifting, it's like other goods, not marketing or some, it's just a weird, yeah.
Finally just put it in their website.
It works, yeah. Hi.
The bottom, you have a QR code there. What do you utilize that for? And could that be potentially utilized for testimonials?
It could. This one goes out to my website.
Okay.
Yeah, so you could definitely link it. If you have a page on your website that's testimonials.
So
Yep.
from a space perspective,
Yes.
you found that to be appropriate to have a QR code? Like I'd only fit on one page, so you can go here for more.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things I recently, I was telling Sidra that I was connecting with somebody that I had met at a conference, and we were connecting on LinkedIn, and she goes, "Can you please give me your email again? I lost your card." So you want it, whatever is here, this is harder to lose because it's a sheet of paper. So whatever you have here, if you have a QR code that can take them to your website, if they've lost all other information, that would be really good. Yeah. Yes.
I have a thing that I have found that has worked really well for me, and then I have a question.
Okay.
When I have these, if I'm going somewhere and have these professionally printed,
Yeah.
I always have them printed just 8.75 instead of 8.5 by 11. Because then
Yeah.
they stack up all the papers, and there's this really annoying one that sticks out, and it's yours. And I have a really good local printer that does things for super cheap if you're interested.
I like that.
My real question is,
Yes.
so part of my differentiation of what I do is that I am honest and real and irreverent. And so this is my speaker sheet, but it has everything on here from, I'm a certified death, loss, grief doula to I
am the mayor of Exchange City in 1990, whatever, you know, like, and one of my necessary skills is 90s pop trivia kind of thing.
Yeah.
That is not professional, but it really shows what differentiates us from.
Yeah, the
Is
voice.
that, is that type of voice okay in capability statement?
I think
In
so.
moderation.
I think so. Yes. I think about your potential clients that you're going to send it to, or that you're going to hand it to. I think you would be okay, because you would be looking at funeral homes and hospitals and yeah. And you do different things. I mean, I think your differentiator is also that you have a product that is so unique.
I have a lot of, but
Yeah.
it shows it's okay to put some of the voice and.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When I talk to people, when I was just speaking, we were talking about my kids because they need to know, like, well, the story I was telling is let me start back. Okay, sorry, it's been a day. So I have 3 kids. They're all W-2 employees. And we were unloading my car yesterday because I had so much stuff in my car from all these pickups. We're holiday boxes. We're very heavy into holiday boxing. And so my older one, my 15-year-old, I'm like, you need to unload the car, you know, with your brother and dad. And he's like, let me see. I need to see if I get paid. So he's checking his bank account to make sure that he gets paid. I said, you just got paid. What are you talking about? So he checks his bank account. And he's like, okay, I guess I can work. I was just like, so I like to weave in those things when I'm talking, and I think that's okay because you are human. It is part of the building that relationship, because people like to talk about what they do, what their family, why they started the company. Your story is huge. So I think that is I think there's a lot that differentiates you. But I think it's perfect if you have those things. It makes it that it's easier to build that relationship. So they know something about you, and you are different than the other person that came along that does something similar, which I don't think you have. But you know what I mean? Like, you want to stand out somehow. Yeah.
It's kind of like when you talked about my session, like that's going to stick in people's memories.
Yeah.
More than just somebody's more very straight-laced one. I think that's just what I remember.
It also, what you put out there is the clients that you attract too, right?
Yeah.
So like, do you want to work with somebody that's really straight-laced and not aligned with you?
Yeah.
I mean, depending on how, you know, depending on how
Right.
much you need the money, yeah, but, you know, that does come into play too. Do you want to work with that person?
Yeah.
Maybe have a couple different versions, like here's my more
Yeah.
formal, here's my more, you know, like.
But what if they get together and they compare notes?
They won't.
I'm just kidding.
Nobody, I think, thinks about us that much.
I will eat my shit. There'll be jealousy on one.
Right.
She mentioned that. She didn't tell me that.
Do you want the fun Cape statement, or do you want the straight laced one?
Yeah. Cape statement is like a Where's Waldo? I don't know.
That sounds exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Wrapped it in enigma.
Exactly.
It's a word search. You figure it out, you look at all. That's not my problem.
Oh man. Does anybody have any questions? Have you tried to do some of this and you're stuck on something? Sometimes that's the best thing. Is like you're like, how do I do what would everybody else do?
It's always differentiators for us, like.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, the running joke for so long is like, what makes us different? We answer our phone.
Yeah.
And like, but that just became I was like, yep, and now we build websites. I don't know what the fuck to tell you, you know, like.
Yeah.
And so I think just kind of thinking through that and like naming some of the verticals that we work in instead, right? And, but yeah, I think that's always the thing that
Yeah.
caught on, right?
I think it would be really interesting if you did one per team member.
Yeah.
And
I love it.
yes.
Yeah, like through the lens of that person's expertise, I think it'd be really
Yeah,
interesting.
because then I think your differentiators are going to be so much more. because of what they bring and, you know, how they're differentiating what they do.
So would you almost suggest starting with each team member and then like aggregating it up into the company?
I would start with each team member, yeah. And I would do one for each. Maybe several versions depending on how they interact with the clients. And then I would see what that looks like.
Yeah.
And then you might see some differentiators that you can pull and do one for the overall company.
And I think getting outside for your differentiators also.
Yes.
Right, like your best customers, ask
Yep.
them what your differentiators are. And
Why did they
maybe
choose
even-
you?
We
Yeah.
talked about this I asked for this in a group before. Maybe even ask some people that you trust to look at your website. What do you see that's different from other people that are offering? I think it's really hard from
Yeah.
inside the business to see
And
what
you
your
can't be your own
differentiators
consultant,
are.
right? So yeah.
But
Yeah.
you can ask your clients or potential clients or just even people completely outside of your realm.
Yeah.
It might give you a little more clarity on that. Because I think that's the hardest part of this whole thing.
Yep.
Is your differentiator.
It is, because you need to put differentiators out there that are going to really pull at that client. Like think about when you have a new client that calls you for work, what are they looking for? And if there's something that keeps popping up, because I'm sure it's different for each one, but if there's something that keeps popping up, like they're looking for X, that might be one of your differentiators.
It's a little bit like a consultant's curse because like I think like very often like the best fit clients they're at a transition point, right? So they've kind of used all the tools and systems out of the box and have, you know, glued things together, right? And like it's not really serving them anymore.
Yeah.
They're stuck in that gray zone where they're like, well, I don't need like, you know, they're not trying to spend $1,000 a month on, whatever, right? But they want something that is gonna like solve this nebulous problem, right? And so like we've tried calling it everything. We're like, it's systems clarity, it's operational, it's I don't know what, right? It's like how do you put that into something that isn't like a paragraph in a TED talk, right? And
in something that somebody reading it is going to go, I know what that is.
That's me,
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and so it's just something that we really had to think about. You know, a lot of folks, so if they're not there, like, the thing that is consistent is that there's usually some kind of that inflection point, right? So they're trying to make transition from like one step to the next, right? And that can be financial, but generally it comes down to like systems integrations, how everything is going to speak and serve everything else within their business, right? And, and I don't, you know, sort of talking to you, like it's hard to, you know, I mean, I actually had one guy recently, it's kind of interesting, like he had gotten, I don't know, something like 8 estimates for a fairly large site build.
Wow.
And he was like, dude, these things are all over the place. He was super candid. And so I just started asking. I was like, well, tell me, what's different about what we did? And he's like, well, you don't include this and they include that. But then they said this one and then this one says that, like, I don't even know what that is. And I was like, okay, let me tell you why we don't do those things, right? I actually learned more about myself explaining why we leave some of the things out than I did trying to explain why we put what we did in. Right? And so, and that was just recently, and it's something that I've been kind of like noodling on is like, okay, well, what is it about us that leads us to these decisions that he's clearly not getting, you know, because I mean, this, you know, one dude was throwing the whole kitchen sink at him. I was like,
maybe that's one of the things that your differentiators is that you listen to what the client's problem is. Sorry, I put my timer on so I had time for questions. But maybe it's that you listen to the client and actually what they need, and you don't charge them the kitchen sink to get them what they, you know.
It does feel like everyone is saying, of course I listen to our clients, right? Like, oh, we're great, but like.
But some people don't. I mean, they may say that,
right.
but it's not one of their differentiators. It's like,
right. Yeah, and so that's ultimately where I have landed is like, I'll just go find testimonies and be like, I don't know what they said. Like,
I mean,
I'm just gonna dodge the question entirely.
And people that say that they're transparent or say that they're this and say that are really the people that are actually walking the talk.
So it's like,
or saying that they have customer service, which means they don't. You know, I mean, you gotta really think about,
And I think it builds credibility because someone else is saying, someone else is giving you the praise as opposed to you. Customers might be a little bit more skeptical.
Well, you know, whatever, right? So,
but
this is, and especially right now, because we are trying to focus, right? We're trying to really narrow, and so we're taking the opposite approach. We're going super deep and super narrow.
Yep.
And then we're gonna step it back out, right, from like a service. We're trying to pivot more to like a product-based thing, right? But it's been an interesting process as we've tried to figure out what we have built, right? Because clearly, like, whatever we're doing is working, but there's just we're scalable in that we have more than, 2 of us doing it, but like, exactly, right, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's still a direct trade, right? And there's no, there's
Yeah.
no inherent scalability.
See what comes up when you build one for each team member,
Yeah.
and then if you're able to build 2 for each team member, 1 product, 1 service, and see what comes out. Yeah.
When you do testimonials, what is your best practice or like how you notate them? Is it first name, last initial, company? Is it like?
What do we do? Do we do first name, last
Is
initial,
there-
company?
Me.
How formal is your company?
Yeah.
Like, what's the
Yeah.
voice
Yeah.
of your company? Would you guys just prefer to have just their name or just their business, or are you super formal?
Yeah,
You know?
my
Yeah.
testimonials, I doubt that they want like first name, last name.
Yeah.
If you're B2B, you might want to just like the company, right?
Yeah.
Like, no one cares that it was John H, right? Nobody cares that it was.
But if it's
Commissioner
CEO, John.
Right, exactly. Yeah, right.
CEO, right.
The role,
Yeah.
But then you might not
CEO,
wanna be
GE
like,
healthcare, right? Like, I mean, that has a different connotation.
Yeah.
So I think depending on who you're serving with that.
and probably, like, I would think, for my business, I probably wouldn't put John, CEO,
Yeah,
name of company.
right.
Yeah.
Because there's some enough.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
ask them if they're okay with you sharing it.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
know.
Obviously,
But I think we do first name, last initial.
Like they
Company.
were saying, I think it just kind of depends on
Yeah.
what are we trying to do with this testimonial? Like, what
what
do we need
purpose
credibility
is
of the company because you're talking to Evergy and you want
Yeah.
them to know you work with some other big company?
Yeah.
Or do you need the credibility of it being a CEO because you're trying to talk to leadership?
Right.
Or do you not? need that?
Or are you trying to illustrate, through their experience, right? Is it, recently widowed, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
right? Or whatever,
Yeah.
right? If they're open to sharing that, then like, are you trying to paint the picture of the person?
Okay, that leads
Is
to
it
another
a
question. How much do you edit down? Because like when I ask for a testimonial, I
Yeah.
literally get a novel.
Oh, I
I'm
cut,
like,
yeah, I cut.
You cut.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
I
no
use that word.
Dot, dot, dot,
Slice.
the important
Okay.
part.
Dot,
dot, dot, yeah, the other important part.
Other important, okay.
Actually, how we got coffee, and I love that. There's the one sentence I
Yes.
need.
You can ask them for just a short testimonial with a couple sentences and see what you get. If you
Or
get
here's
a,
the testimony.
if you
This
still
is
get
how I
along.
edited it. Are you okay with this?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously,
Yes.
I'm sure that, but.
Yes, because we only had a certain amount, like a certain word amount. Yeah.
I say,
Yeah,
is this
sure.
okay?
Yeah.
They're like, whatever.
This is gonna be on print, like.
Yeah.
Most of the time, they're like, you just edit it however.
Yeah.
Seriously? Jennifer is amazing.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Sorry. Yeah.
I feel like I want to incorporate this into my like CMR
Your CRM. Yeah.
And so whenever I'm like kind of helping to educate that customer is what I'm thinking, that part of the funnel. This is probably kind of a dumb question.
No,
but,
there are no dumb questions. I promise.
Okay, this is a really smart question.
Awesome.
What are people more likely to click on, like a link to this info or a PDF that they can share? Like, what's your experience with
I
that,
usually
or
send it
does
as a
that-
PDF.
Huh?
I usually send it as a PDF
You said it.
because so many people are
Like, I feel like the link would get kind of buried. or
yeah,
something.
and people are worried about clicking on a link right now because there's so much scam and all the things. So I just send it as a PDF, and I make sure I put whatever that company's name. It's their CAPE statement. I sent one to Cushman and Wakefield.
I
Okay,
can
this is.
embed malware into it, and then they'll need my services. I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
You didn't record that, did you?
From a marketing standpoint, though. I have my resume.
People feel the pain point, right?
Oh my
I have my
goodness.
resume. I'm actually going to change it over to my capability statement.
Good.
I have my resume on my website that is findable, so that A will show me how many people have clicked and actually looked at it. So that kind of gives me an idea, and that way of being able, because on PDF, you don't know if they actually looked at it. So I think that,
That's
yes, having that when you're sending by like email when you're in a relationship, but also making it searchable on your website. And then again, being able to track analytics. So from a marketing standpoint, I think having it that way as well.
That's a good point. Yep.
I think that could be, so when people are searching your core competencies, it's going to become more likely that you're gonna start to pop up.
That's a good point.
I'll
Yes.
actually include it twice. Like, if that's the discussion topic, I will link it
Yeah.
and include it as a PDF, which I use, I think it's called Mail Tracks. It will track if the PDFs I send are opened.
Gmail's
Good.
not gonna allow that anymore. They're gonna start to phase out being able to read receipts. So you're not gonna be able to check that.
Okay. Next time. How does she do it
works
now?
for, like,
Yeah.
Until today.
Okay.
Well, I don't know when they're gonna start to phase that out, but anything that's like tracking, because of privacy regulations, they're starting to phase a lot of that out.
You had a question. I want to make sure we get to that.
I was just making a statement, if somebody asks you to write a review, and you don't know them very well, just ask them to write it for you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then make sure, then send it back and I'll like, okay, it's.
What do you want me to focus on?
Yes. Yeah,
I'm
that's
really
a
bad
good
at,
point.
like writing anything.
That's a good point. Yes.
For your key clients section,
Uh-huh.
did you ask their permission to list their name there? 'Cause these are pretty scrutinized.
For some of them, yes. It depends on what kind of relationship I have. So if it's not a relationship that I've built really well, then I'll ask. Yeah. But with these guys, I have a really good relationship. So yeah, and that's actually a good. I've talked to people who are in the insurance industry. They can't very well. So make sure you either know that you are okay or you ask permission, depending on what industry you're in. Yeah.
Know your privacy laws.
Yes. Yes.
That's.
Sounds like I need somebody to teach me.
All right.
There's lawyers that are way better at it than
Any last questions? Okay. Thank you guys for such an interactive presentation.